Philosophically, this is what we're actually saying. You are going to die, and you do not have a choice in this. And this is liberating. It's a liberating realization because now there is only really one thing to do. And this gets to understanding what is freedom and what is effectiveness and what are choices, okay? You have choices, and that's obvious. The more choices that you have, on the one hand, may seem like a freedom, but on the other hand, it leads to a lot of indecisiveness. And there's nothing more burdening or burdensome and enslaving than being stuck in indecisiveness. Having self-discipline and clear thought will allow you to understand, or will allow you to make decisions, and you'll see that it's actually not having the options that are liberating, but the liberating part in terms of your consciousness is once you've made a decision and are following it. So freedom is not countless choices. That's actually slavery. It's being a slave to whim. Freedom is clarity of thought and clarity of purpose. Once you know the solution to something, then you actually feel free of the burden of that indecisiveness. So I want to say in this sort of first introduction to how we're going to do this, that you will know if this is for you or if it is not, if you sort of can hear the following things and if they resonate with you. And if only some of them resonate with you, or if any of this has resonated with you so far, then I encourage you to stay with me through this, and we will see how this goes. Life, as you know it, as you lived it, you know something is wrong. You know that something is terribly, terribly wrong in the society that you're in. You've also seen people who are trying to live a path or a lifestyle in opposition to this, which is very wrong. And you've seen a lot of people F this up and go about it all the wrong way. You've seen different paths. You've seen people who focus simply and solely on socioeconomic conditions of the society. And so what they end up doing is they end up placing a lot of things on society that they should actually place first on themselves. And you've also seen other people who believe that there's really nothing wrong in society, and that everything is inside, that this is all an illusion. And there's a lot of truth to both of these views. In many ways, this is an illusion, but not as we conventionally think of it. Things really are happening, but how we, our ontological definition is going to be spelled out over time here. Certainly, the person who's looking strictly at the socioeconomic factors of society that are problematic are focusing just too much on that one component. Now, there's so much vast literature and there's so many complex ideas that describe the socioeconomic problems of society that it seems like it's a complete picture. But actually, it's just one slice of the pie, and it's just this growing body, this growing and growing body of experience and literature and practice in that one slice of the pie. But it's not the whole picture. It's just focusing on one part of the body, and it's focusing on this dynamic of this is what people are doing to you because you're a victim, and then this is like what it means to fight back against the victimizer as a victim. And then you've seen, like I've said, another path where people are kind of doing this oriental thing, or they're doing simply a religious thing, and I don't disrespect that either, but you'll see that it's shortcoming. because they begin to ignore the socioeconomic conditions. And so there's a gap, there's a problem in both of these paths. And these are the paths of resistance, by the way. I mean, there's like a million different ways to live and to waste your life, and to evaluate the lives of people that they see around them, not to judge them like they are better than them, but you should definitely evaluate people's lifestyles and definitely evaluate how people are treating their bodies, how people are thinking about things, and you will see, where you can see a reflection of your own problems through them. And that's the only real reason, I think, fundamentally, that people become so disappointed in other people, or want to look at the negatives in other people, because they're actually projecting something that they know is a bad practice in themselves. It doesn't mean that they're practicing it, but in fact it sometimes helps to keep from practicing those things, to see it in other people. But it can also make you blind. If you are practicing those things that you don't like in other people, it can make you blind to that you are also doing those same things. So you've seen others go about different paths. And this is what I want to say about that. Number one, you are not a victim. You are a spiritual being, and there is a whole process happening here that we will be talking about over time. But you are not a victim in this. One of your jobs in life is to understand, first of all, that you have chosen to have this experience. If you begin with this framework, that you did not choose to be born, if you believe that your birth was a mistake, I'm not talking about your parents' decisions. I'm talking about in the grand scheme of things. If you believe that you randomly are born, or that you're now randomly receiving this message, this is an illusion that we need to cast aside. You have chosen to have this journey that you are on, okay? You have chosen to be here. And when you understand that you have chosen to be here, I think that's the fundamental, let's call that the first principle, that you have chosen to have this experience on this planet, in this realm, in this existence. Starting there, I think many, many things will start to become clear to you. And you will find in the end what is the role and the obligation of the political soldier, and actually how this is not a burden that leaves you unsatisfied, because what you're doing comes from there is a gratification that comes from the inside when you are being your best possible person, that you will see that this life is a very good life. And that is why you have chosen to be here as well. And also many of the things that are difficult and the problems that you are obliged to be a part of correcting is also why you are here, moving forward. So you have chosen to be here, and you are not a victim. That is that is part of an agreement that the powers that be are promoting, because they want you to define yourself through what they are doing, and by defining yourself through what they are doing will seem a lot more powerful, because it's actually defining you. So you are not exploited, you are not oppressed, and you are not a victim. But there's no such thing as victimhood, which is not self-imposed. And resistance is a power. And so it is dishonest, and I'm not saying that there isn't any room for strategic dishonesty. And in the course of this, we will talk about things like the power of the victim in terms of politics and victimology. But it is a power, and it is a force, and it is a reality. So, but it is not honest for the victim to say that in their mobilization of the status of victimhood towards an end, that they are a victim. And also, it's not a good definition to have and it leads towards many, many toxic and unstable practices, and it leads towards a way of doing things that is proven not to work. And we have seen it, and we'll be analyzing some of those things. But again, we're limited in the things that we can talk about, and so we have to start to learn to practice a little bit of telepathy, a little bit of ESP, so that when I'm dog whistling certain things, that you understand them, and then no one can actually say that I've said them, because that's the nature of conditions of censorship that we live under. And that's not going to dilute our message one bit, because that way we're not actually identifying ourselves the wrong way, and what that means will come clear to us as well.